If you're thinking of scaling up your business, the next session is your answer. A panel discussion with some of the best brains in the industry, Kedar Gavne, Rohini Srivastava, Karthik Bidhatapura, and Bruno Govias. Let's begin our discussion on technology solutions for scaling your business. This session is moderated by Mr. Kedar Gavne. Kedar is the India Director for ComScore, a global leader in measuring the digital world and preferred source of digital business analytics. Prior to joining ComScore, Kedar served as the founder and CEO of Viral Smith, CEO for BigMarp, a subsidiary of Reliance Big Entertainment Private Limited, and as a product head for BigAdda.com. Rohini Srivastava is the leader for Smarter Commerce at IBM. She has over 20 years of experience in strategy, consulting, sales, and marketing, and practice leadership in the US and India. Karthik is the CEO of DataWeave. Rajesh Kumar is from the Tata Teleservices. He has 12 years of experience in the telecom industry in areas like content delivery networks, IP, and satellite networks. Prior to joining Tata Communications in 2007, he was working with Hughes Network Systems and Telstra Vcom. In Tata Communications, he's been involved in setting up the CDN infrastructure in India and currently looking at market development and product marketing for CDN services in India and MENA. Rahul Chaudhary is the e-commerce sector leader at Helion Advisors. Rahul joined Helion Advisors in 2007 as part of the investment team. His focus areas include e-commerce, digital media, retail, and education sectors. He's closely associated with Helion Investments in ShopClues, My Smart Price, YGL, BBOA, GTT, and Vinova. I'm sorry, Rahul is not a panelist for this session. We are on to our last panelist, Bruno Govias, who we just heard from before. So we'll start our panel now. Thank you. Rohini was not able to make it for this session, so Sridhar is going to help in the panel. And we've already heard from Sridhar, so you know him. Thank you.
Hello everyone, thank you for staying back, and I think we'll not take too much of your time because everybody is really hungry. So we'll, as the topic suggests, we're going to talk about how technology solutions help in scaling your e-commerce business or retailing business. We have a set of esteemed panelists. Shamik couldn't make it. Shamik is the CTO at Myntra. He had a personal emergency. So in his absence, I will act as a retail provider and try to ask you all the difficult questions. So just to start with, my first question to Bruno and Rajesh, who happen to serve the same space for an e-commerce company, is that there's a whole evolution stage for an e-commerce company in terms of growing from, let's say, the first order to 10,000 to 100,000 orders. And here scaling up, I'll define as by number of orders, just to simplify it. Where do you think your services fit in, or what is the right time for anybody to think about, data services in their business?
So, Kedar, you bring up a good point. Why do commerce companies try to reach out to audiences? I'm audible, right? So they have a value prop to a particular consumer. Typically, a lot of companies know they have an initial plan on the audience that they're trying to reach. And, from my experience, that particular segment of user can be anywhere. Any commerce company would love to reach that type of segment from anywhere in the world. So pretty much from ground up, what commerce companies try to do is optimize their investments and ensure they have the right technology and architecture in place so that from day zero, there is always the technology to support the need to address this particular segment that you're using from, no matter where they are. It could be from the same city, It could be many cities. It could be world over. So typically, and this is well understood specifically in commerce companies, that the need to integrate a delivery platform that enables you this type of agility and flexibility to reach different segments and markets. And also, as you've seen with commerce companies, you learn, right? Once you launch on day one, day two, depending on the responses, you want to have the flexibility to adapt. I think it's understood that you have to integrate with platforms to get that type of flexibility, as opposed to doing it in-house.
So are you saying you should do it right from the beginning?
Right. I really concur with what Bruno has said. It's not like on day zero, a e-commerce company or any online media company starts off setting up any infrastructure on their own and then move on to a scalable solution, right? They essentially, what we think is from day zero onwards, they need to move on to a scalable platform. It doesn't, and the beauty, or I would say, the worst enemy of an online business is it's unpredictability. You just cannot predict what's going to happen the next day. You want to start off, you market your product, you market your e-commerce venture, and there are a hell lot of people coming onto your website, and God forbid something happens to that website and it doesn't serve, and the end user experience is typically not that good. You want that return user, right? So, right from day zero onwards, at least we think that they should go in for that scalable platform.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I think I have a slightly different view. I mean, I can generally agree with what you're saying, but I don't think the scalability factor is something that you have to get right on day zero. I mean, I think that's where I differ from them. In the sense that I think, and I've kind of found this sort of newfound appreciation for startups and smaller companies, where, this is a bootstrap kind of an organization. There are monetary constraints, the number of people are, limited. In fact, even the maturity of some of these organizations is sort of so limited that by giving them an enterprise class, highly scalable platform is something that they won't be able to manage actually. I mean, I'm saying this by, real experience, talking with all kinds of clients, and as you know, I represent IBM, and we are as large as a company can get, and we have customers online who do $10 billion revenues. In fact, the second largest e-tailer after Amazon, which is Staples.com, runs on IBM, and we have all the way down to the other end of the spectrum, where you have even small mom and type shops running on IBM, right? So we see the entire gamut of customers, and I wouldn't say that every one of them have gone with IBM on day one. I'll be pretty honest with you, right? But just because you go with a platform that doesn't scale, but as long as it meets your near-term needs and whatever that could be, you could, as he said, it's pretty unpredictable. And if you're able to cross the threshold, let's say in the first 6 months, that's great. But and then maybe you need to start thinking over, how do I move over to a more scalable platform. But definitely, I think having a view in terms of where am I going to take this business, right? Yes, you can't always predict how your business is going to perform, let's say 1 year down the road, for example. But at least if you have a good vision for yourself in terms of the customer experience and how you want to market your product, how are people going to find out about it, and all of those things, if all those elements are available in the solution that you're going to begin with, then I think it's okay to start with it, right? But again, with scale also comes complexity. You may have to then integrate with your suppliers and vendors, which you may not have done before. Maybe you need to provide new kinds of payments that were not available in the past. So when those kinds of complexities creep into the business model, then you need to start looking at a really scalable platform. And when I say scalable, I also mean that sort of the gamut of capabilities that comes with that solution is also much more than, let's say, a smaller solution.
Sure. So just to extend that thought, I completely agree. When people start, they don't think too much about the technology solutions available because they're only thinking of kickstarting the business and getting the first few orders in. But then, doesn't it become a bigger problem later to sort of consider a largely backed technology solution? Or rather, my question to you is, in the list of priorities that somebody is thinking about technology, whether it's to the web store, whether it's related to the warehouse or the ERP, what do you think should be the, the ladder of inference? What should be the first thing that people should always validate or evaluate, that okay, I'm falling back here on this particular function, and where can technology help me?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, but it's a difficult question to answer, to be honest with you, because the difference is going to be in terms of when you actually make the decision to migrate to a better platform, right? And I don't think there's any easy or one answer that I can give that's going to be applicable to everybody in the room here. It depends on, as I said, the maturity of the company, how much you can afford, what kind of people do you have. I mean, are there people that can manage the disruption to the business that's likely to happen? Are you big on customer service and you can't have even 2 minutes of downtime? I mean, there are going to be so many aspects to this that needs to be considered before you move ahead or migrate or do the cutover, for example. But obviously, my answer is going to be sooner rather than later, right? Sure. Once you know that there is a good sort of upside to the business, customers are accepting this, your product portfolio, your merchandising, or whatever it is, and you're seeing good results early on, and you haven't really changed your core business much, right? Once you do that, then I think it's time to start thinking, or at least start talking to bigger vendors, and then find out how is it that they can help you in this sort of migration, so to speak, right? And maybe choose the vendor that can really say, look, we have this contingency plan in place, and we can help you to make sure that business disruption is minimal or even zero. And if I can help you with that, then maybe that's the person that you need to go with.
Thanks. Karthik here runs a business intelligence product as well as a service company called DataWeave. So Karthik, most of the e-commerce companies, and I'm talking in India specifically, knew the first order that they got, the name of the person, the city it came from, and so on. And after 10 months, if you ask them any question related to their customer base, they usually get lost. So the intelligence of the data layer that also catches up pretty quickly in e-commerce, because you start adding facets of data very quickly, and to solve or to crunch that data also becomes a large problem in a very short span of time. So how do you think people should go about it?
So just to give you a brief, we have a product called PriceWeave, which basically offers a competitive intelligence suite for e-retailers to benchmark how they compare against competition. Now, what we have seen is right from companies which start from day one to companies which are fairly evolved. Most of them understand the importance of data, but they don't know about how to go about building this layer of analytics on top of the data that they are actually collecting in their logs. And what we do is, apart from helping companies understand the various facets, various aspects of their data, we also augment this data to with external data to help them understand how they compare against competition. So just to give you an example, how do you plan your inventory? Apart from understanding how your sales is going on, you can also augment this data with how you compare against competition. For example, how many red dresses does one have against competition? If red is the flavor of the season, what are the flavors of the season? Or how do I compare against pricing in my competition? So various levels of pricing strategies, assortment strategies, all of this has to evolve on top of data. And we've seen companies right from day one start investing in their analytics layer to help them aid in their decision making. So yeah.
So this is a complete SaaS platform, I assume, right? So do retailers invest nothing in technology or towards manpower to actually get the output of this kind?
So if you're in your early stages, they just hook onto the platform that we've built. But if you are in a fairly evolved stage, they would want to integrate all of this data into their own systems and see the big picture. So yeah, we have all kinds of, we have an API support, we have a SaaS model. So yeah, it works both the ways. It actually depends on what stage you are on.
The other question I had for Bruno and Rajesh was, you must be having a lot of conversations in the market today where retailers come to you and say, hey, my site keeps going down, I have a problem with this, I have a problem with that. And what are those things that you recommend them, or the first thing that says, damn, you should have come to me probably a year back before you started, or before you started doing this order of business or the scale of business. So what are those typical 3 or 4 things that you see in the market which people miss out, or also 3 or 4 things that people are doing pretty well compared to managing their technology solutions?
Yeah, one good thing, what I see, it's purely from the content delivery network perspective. What I see from the e-commerce players is they know the technology. Okay, that's been a big plus. Maybe a couple of years back, even we were trying to educate. That was the major focus area. But now it seems the players themselves are aware of the technology. So that's one big plus. But yes, the earlier players maybe have the architecture and all those stuff are already built in, so it's difficult for them to migrate. But technology, think ahead at the very beginning what you want to do the planning very well. I think that goes a long way. I think he said right that yes, he differed in my opinion, by the way, but it really makes sense to start off with with their own. The scalable technology is not for everyone, is what he mentioned. But an added thing is, yes,
it might not be for everyone, but if it's effective, if it's cost effective, if it's if it's intelligent enough, and why not? Why not go for that at the very beginning? So I think plan well at the very beginning from the technical side. I'm unaware of the warehousing and other part of the e-commerce business, so I would stick to that.
The other things that we have seen with our commerce customers is certainly security is top of mind. Okay. So they are definitely concerned, as one of the gentlemen talked about, data breaches, staying ahead of attacks, all the credit card information, even though they use third-party providers, because even a little downtime can have tremendous impact to brands. And you've seen a lot of these high-profile attacks out there. In fact, just last year there was a lot of them targeting retail companies. So that's definitely top of mind. And like Rajesh said, I would agree that one thing with commerce customers are they are very savvy technologically. So unlike a lot of other enterprises where they don't even know when they're attacked, at least people here are aware, and we try to educate them on the benefit of the cloud security model. Keep in mind, across the world, 80% of the retailers have a local audience, but you still need cloud security. And as Rajesh was alluding to, these platforms have evolved because you have asked for, and even the business models are all on demand. So, whether you're a small or a big company, typically the way it's integrated is to ensure that it works for everybody. And the other one that I want to build on, which I found is, which Rajesh pointed out, which is very true, is a lot of commerce companies, you have these seasons, right, for when you pretty much make a lot of your so at least the customers that we work with, they have, if you will, a roadmap, and they've already, at this point in time, they're planning for next year, and they want to get us into the seat, give us a seat at the table at the planning cycle. And the reason for that is because they want to ensure that agility is key, right? You want to be able to optimize and without any changes very early on, get set, because you have limited resources. And they now view people like us as partners that will provide them the intelligence at the architecture time so that it's a go. Because as he said, there's no longer education required. We are now a key component of providing business for oxygen. And as one of my customers said, we are one of the oxygens for a commerce company.
Okay, thanks. For Sridhar and Karthik, you provide a lot of technology solutions. Karthik, you provide a lot of data solutions to these e-commerce companies. The standard mindset, I mean, all of us have our beginnings in technology. Most of the e-commerce companies come, as Rajesh pointed out, with a very strong technology background, and hence an analytics background as well. How do you, change that mindset that, I can still do this in-house. I know there is a problem, whether it's technology, whether it's data, I can still manage it. I can hire 2 more people, I can get 5 more people. Yes, but there is a speed to technology or the time to market in case of e-commerce as well, which kind of puts a lot of pressure. But how do you help them change that mindset? Because with having that mindset, it's impossible to solve the technology problem and also get an added benefit that IBM or a DataWeave can bring in, right?
Yeah, I think this is a real challenge. It's an ongoing challenge for us, especially in this kind of a marketplace where, as you said, you do find very tech savvy people in many organizations, right? So for us the way we differentiate is in 2 or 3 ways. One is from a services perspective, right? Again, services is a different sort of an animal. It requires a different mindset in terms of the whole operating model is quite different. It's not like running a software development shop, if you will. Okay, and there are going to be a lot of tasks and activities as the company is growing. They'll find that it's rather more cost effective for them to get it done through somebody else rather than do it themselves. That is one aspect of it. The other aspect is that we are fortunate to have a very strong portfolio from a software perspective as well, right? And then many of them have many of these capabilities have come to us through acquisitions in the recent past, and they are fairly niche, I would say, specialized solutions, fairly sophisticated in that regard. Like for example, price optimization, right? We've acquired a company called Demand Tech, a couple of years ago. I would argue, I mean, nothing is impossible, but I would argue that if you want to kind of build the kinds of capabilities that Demand Tech offers, it's going to take you a couple of years at least. Okay, even if you have geniuses sitting. I'm saying that because it is fairly complex technology that's really looking at it from a statistical standpoint, predictive analysis, a lot of algorithms going on, modeling and blah blah blah. And again, it's not just about the technology, right? I mean, these guys have worked with some of the largest retailers in the world, and the science that goes behind what the technology can do is something that has been culled from from a long years of experience of working with the Walmarts and the Targets of the world. So it's not going to be very easy for you to, even if you have some good engineers, to throw them into a room and say build this, right? So one of our differentiation is to provide complementary solutions to their core product. If it's, let's say they already have an e-commerce, the shopping cart and the payment and this and that, that's all great, right? I mean, while I also have solutions, but I'm not going to necessarily compete on that area, but rather than talk to them about how could we do price optimization, how do we do digital marketing optimization in a better way, can I do real-time alerts, can I change a banner ad almost on a real-time basis, using the sort of analytical capability that I have built into my platform. So stuff like that. I mean, so that's the only way where I can show value to customers, and I think that's basically what is resonating in this type of market.
Karthik?
For us, it's basically 2 things that that actually works out for us. One is the scale at which we are able to do this, and the other one is if someone wanted to do this and knows the kind of costs that would be associated with it. So, for example, when we talk about scaling, let's say if you're a fairly evolved e-commerce portal and you're selling around 100,000 products, and you want to optimize, you want to get a competitive analysis around how do you compare against competition, or what are the gaps in your catalog, or how do you compare on the pricing front. Doing that at scale, given the fact that inventory is changed on a day-to-day basis, pricing are changed on a minute-by-minute basis, for you to be doing that at scale is, it takes some kind of, good, hard technology for you to crack that. And apart from that, there is also, some kind of a competitiveness as well in the product. So for example, if we are able to tell that the leading e-com portals are already using us for mapping competition, there is some amount of interest that gets generated around that as well, saying that, okay, if my competitors are already using this, then there is something interesting in this. So let me also try that. So that's what works for us.
So you're saying that it's more to do with the scale and the amount of effort and time that you could spend compared to what you guys can bring to the table.
Another point I want to add to that is, again going back to this whole aspect of customer experience. From an e-commerce standpoint, I think we all know that we are moving into this so-called, omni-channel or multi-screen world. I mean, lots of phrases are being used to describe that. This whole aspect of, the shopping process is not a linear process anymore, right? So you begin your shopping process probably on the internet, looking for something, you browse, you do a lot of research, and then you arrive at some sort of a short list to, understand what is that you are really interested in buying. You can post something on social media and say, hey, guys, I'm sort of looking at buying this car. Do you have any experiences? Blah blah blah. So even before you actually walk into a physical store or go to a dealership or whatever the case may be, you're already a fairly well-informed customer or consumer, if you will, right? And then you may decide to make the actual purchase in a physical environment, and then you are expecting the delivery to happen at your home. And then, in the meanwhile, you might have a change of mind, and then you may call up the call center and say, hey, instead of the black color thing I ordered, can you send me the red? So what you're essentially doing is, weaving in and out of, multiple channels, but you're still achieving that same goal of, buying the car or whatever the case may be, right? And, and again, that's where, again, we can bring a differentiation to the table by saying, if these are the kinds of things that you want to offer to your customer, then you probably need to have a good understanding of what your customer experience journey is going to look like, what are the different technology elements that will enable you to offer this kind of a service, and then pick out the specific elements that are required. And you can do it, in a phased manner, right? I'm not saying that you've got to do all of this on day one, which is what I'm trying to say earlier. In the sense that, so once you have that vision in mind, then you can look for the appropriate solution at that point in time.
Sure. Cool. Thank you. We'll open it up to the audience. Any specific questions on the technology solutions that you are looking to get on board for your businesses, or any other questions? How many of you are retailers out here to? Yeah, I know it's lunchtime. Yeah. So I think. Is there anybody? How much time do we have? 10 minutes, okay. So it's not necessary that we use it up, but yeah, we have. Just please introduce yourself and you can ask the question.
Yeah, I'm Srinivas. I'm an online marketing consultant. A question to Akamai, you are the Tata Teleservices guy. So why don't you offer a pay-as-you-go model like Amazon does? Why do you have to have a contract or amount of storage or bandwidth they want?
So it's a good question, right? So we keep getting demands for different business models from different customers. We've been in this business for the past 15 years. Our business models have evolved, and we are certainly looking to put in the necessary, in place to eventually one day come to the pay-as-you-go. And in fact, in certain cases for customers, we do have that as a model. And I must admit, for the services we have today, that's not the case, but there is a very good reason for it, and a lot of our customers understand it. But eventually, somewhere down the line, you'll find even Akamai and the likes of Tata being offering that for certain things. It will not apply to every product and service. There is a reason why you have it in the commit model. There will be a reason why it will be evolved to a pay-as-you-go service, and the others will remain the same. But we are striving to ensure that, and it's an ask for our customers, right? It'll never be a win-win if the business models don't work out for both. And so the reason and the reality is that today it does, but it has to evolve, and we will also be there doing that.
Rajesh?
A team at the back end helping you out, in doing various other things. So, there are a lot of other things, allied things involved, which makes it imperative that there is some kind of a commit or an expected revenue out of the customer. Yes, as Bruno rightly mentioned, I'm sure eventually everyone would go towards that pay-as-you-go model because customers would be savvy enough, and it would be easier for the customer also. He can do a lot more things on his own.
So I understand pay as you go is not there, but is there some way that people can try out slightly longer than let's say a 1 week period, just to see that how the business can be run with your support and services for a decent enough time to gauge that yes, this is possible for me?
Absolutely, absolutely. We offer, in fact, a 15-day trial, free trial, so to check these services. It's absolutely, you can go ahead with that.
And the other thing is that I want people to take away the following, right? The gentleman gave an example of a potential business model that would be applicable for a particular commerce customer. The way we work and most of the partners is, we will sit with you on the table and what you want. A lot of these things are confidential as well, right? We can be flexible, and what you'll find is as we peel the onions, we will eventually arrive at a model that works. That's the takeaway. Don't worry about the specifics. Come back with what engages. That's the reason we are here. We're a partner that will provide you options given what's available to ensure it works for you and works for us. And that's the key message.
Yep, I think that's a wrap. So thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this panel, and thank you for being such a wonderful audience.
Thank you so much. That was incredible. Thank you, Kedar, Sridhar, Karthik, Rajesh, and Bruno. We are now taking a small break for lunch, but in case you are getting intimidated with technology, I wanted to add in a small promo for a must-attend session in the evening by Mr. Mahesh Murthy. He's going to cover why technology is not the most important aspect of your business, online business. And so we'll reconvene here sharply at 2:30. And before we take a break, I would like to, on behalf of eTailing India, we would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors and partners who make the conference possible. Akamai, DVS, Google, Atom, Diana, Flex, Octane, Ixola, Vinculum, Trendin, Unicommerce, Tata Teleservices, ShopClues, AdGuli, and TIE Bangalore. So see you back again at 2:30. Thank you.